talking.
We probably just changed. Yeah, that's probably fine.
I think that's what we're supposed to do, but I don't know exactly what it. So to make us sound young and hip, I'm messing with this thing, being like, "What? How do we?"
It's okay.
Yeah,
We're not young and hip.
We are. Damn it!
Are we?
I don't know.
Literally just launched a show about dead people, many of whom are from many, many, many years ago.
And we just finished talking with someone about a record that's over 50 years old with great detail and
Keith Richards is laying on the wall behind me.
And I think laying is the right term for what Keith is doing back there.
Yes, he is. He's just making sure we've got it together.
Yes.
So yes, we're hip. We're just old and hip.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we are.
So we can we're mod. I want to be mod.
Very mod. All right. So Go for it. Hit it.
I know. Are you scared?
Terribly, but go ahead anyway.
I know. So welcome to the first wrap up, I guess. We don't have a title yet. After show, afterglow.
Oh.
Afterlife.
Afterlife.
Afterlife, afterglow.
Oh, yeah.
Epilogue, epitaph, epilogue.
Something like that.
I don't know. We will title this. We will come up with an excellent name. But
yes,
in the spirit of our fans, believe it or not, although our new show has already had some really phenomenal reception, we have had some requests for us to maybe chat a little bit, which is
and
weird,
it's not just our mothers, which
it is not just our mothers. No, although I will say that my mother did request this as one of the many people, which is rare because if she could only listen to Luke, she'd be so much happier.
Which is going to be its own thing on Patreon.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will. She'll be your sole subscriber, but it's fine.
Still worth it.
Still worth it, right. But we did want to get back together to talk a little bit about each show each week and sort of either the inspiration behind it or just depending just go a little deeper in the story, add a little bit of our own thoughts and ridiculousness, lighten the mood a little bit because death can be a little
consider us your Paul Harvey.
No, really?
This is the rest of the story.
It is the rest of the story, but
if my grandmother was still around, she would be so excited that we were making that reference.
I mean, lots of people love Paul Harvey, but we know that
lots of people's grandmothers love him.
I know. Anyway. We're aging ourselves even faster.
True.
But since this is the first one and we did launch 3 episodes, it's going to be a little bit different because we're still even trying to figure out the name. But we wanted to talk a little bit about sort of where this show came from, because obviously it's our 3rd podcast child.
For better or for worse.
For better or for worse. And it is a little different, although it still, I think, has a lot of the elements of thought-provoking, interesting, we're all connected, that our other shows have. It's much shorter.
To some, that's its biggest selling point.
It's not an interview show. We don't have guests. It's a bedtime story or a morning time story that you actually
MOURN.
Yes, get full credit for coming up with the concept, which I willingly jumped on board your coattails with.
Well, so here's how it started. I was telling my wife about one of our many guests, similar to this week when I was talking with my sister and her son, who he's playing in a hockey tournament in Dallas, Texas, and they're all very excited. They're leaving tomorrow. And they're going to the rodeo tomorrow night. And like everyone from Massachusetts is like excited. And I said, well, if while you're at the rodeo, you see a diminutive rodeo clown named Pork Chop, say hi for me. And it was one of those conversations I was having with my wife. And I think it was probably along the lines of, why can't you have a normal show like other people? Mm-hmm. And she said, I always thought the idea of famous last words would be a good idea for a show. And this is something you and I talked about for a while over what do we do with this? Do we just sort of, each one of us comes to each episode with a word or a sentence and we go into it and tell the backstory to the other one? And there are a lot of other history podcasts that do that.
Correct.
And then it was something I kind of had just marinating for like a while, and I think every once in a while we go like, oh, we got to do famous last words. And then it was some like Saturday afternoon. Everyone was out of the house, so I was really in a good mood. And something about, like you normally don't a Saturday afternoon, something about the Kennedy assassination suddenly just clicked with me. And it was just like, oh, wait, I know how we can tell this story. Went down to my office and in literally 10 minutes wrote out pretty much the basis of what is the JFK episode.
Yeah,
Which is,
spoiler.
I guess we should say spoiler alert. Yeah. This is the only time on this show that we have to have a spoiler alert. Every other one, you know how it
That's
ends.
true. I mean, you do, true. Good point.
Yeah.
Well, sort of. I mean, you know what happens, but not
How we got there.
How we got there.
Yes. And I think that was something we always also agreed on from the beginning, that it should not be Kennedy and Steve Jobs and
Correct.
whomever else. It needs to be an assortment of people, an assortment of eras, an assortment of genders, and everybody. And something I think that comes up in a bunch of them, this idea of, well, everyone has last words. It's just a question of, what you choose to do with them. And I think something we both found early on in the whole process, and you can agree or disagree with this, but at first the thought was like, oh, this is kind of like, it's funny. It's kind of like, there's like snarky side to it, but very, very quickly realizing that looking at someone's life just through this 30 seconds, there is so much contained therein. It's a galaxy of stars. It is sadness. It is a sense of humor. It is joy. It is fear. It is every day. It's sort of that thing of, and I guess you could say it with every sentence, what you choose to do with those words.
True. Well,
are you putting out, are you putting out a message of love, of hate, of irony, of sarcasm, of, it's all contained in there.
Right. And when it all comes down to it in that moment, what is the emotion or the feeling or the thing you want? What's the thing that goes to the forefront, consciously or unconsciously?
Yeah.
Right. Because we all have all of those sides and elements to us. And the people we're talking about, we know many, many sides to, for a lot of them we don't. But sometimes the choice words are not an area that you would have expected from that person.
And it should be said too that some of these people very much knew this was going to be the last thing that they said.
Correct. Some people had time to plan.
And there are others who it was a much more off the cuff, just sort of happened. And then also just the joy of doing the research for this. I think for me, that's been the great fun.
Yes. Well, Rachel's very sad because she wants to research.
Rachel, research your heart out, please.
That's what I told her. I said, there are plenty of people. We have many seasons.
Yeah, this is an open book.
Yes, indeed.
But just doing the research, going out and, with one of the ones that we released this week, and maybe this is way into that, but sort of finding the Johnny Ace story was something I knew from the Paul Simon song.
Right.
And I went back, I was like, well, who is he? Why is he the subject of a Paul Simon song? And I knew that part. And then sort of researching it, it turns into like, well, what else is there about him? And it just opens up door upon door upon door. The era in which he was recording and touring, the fact that he was on a bill with BB King and Big Mama Thornton at the time of his death. Her best known for Hound Dog.
Right.
Which is amazing because it's the reason my 11-year-old, the elder, says he doesn't like Elvis.
Is Hound Dog, or because of Big Mama Thornton?
Because he ripped off Big Mama Thornton's Hound Dog.
Okay.
And I think for him, Elvis is a stand-in for every great African American artist ripped off by white businessmen.
Yes, and I do get that, and I get all of that, and I do appreciate and love that he thinks that way.
Yes,
but I also feel over time he'll find
that Hound Dog was written by two Jewish guys from New York.
Anyway, yes, yes. All sorts, all of those. He'll find out all of those things, but he'll also find a place for Elvis that has some of his own right too.
Correct.
And his own journey of how he could get to where he was. But Yes. Yeah. But Johnny Ace is a really interesting example too, because with so much, why does one person die just at their as they're reaching the tip of their career and instantly become so much more of a legend and we remember them forever? Like whether it's a James Dean or even an Otis, like even Otis Redding, like but then why does someone like a Johnny Ace really disappear? Because unless you really know Paul Simon and you really listen to the lyrics,
Right.
you're going to breeze right through that. Not that Paul Simon's not, I mean, he's amazing,
But Hearts and Bones is not Graceland.
right, it's not Graceland.
Um,
I mean, he's not Al. He's not Betty. He's not Al.
This is true. He's not a boy in a bubble.
He's not a boxer.
There's no diamonds.
He's not a
no
rock
souls.
or an island.
Nope, neither.
He's not a Garfunkel.
Not a.
He's not Carrie Fisher.
He's not at the zoo. Yeah, there's a lot of things.
There's a lot of things, but he does have this incredible story and talent, and it launched 1,000 ships elsewhere, as you mentioned in the story.
But I think too, I mean, the way it links to John Lennon, and I think also it links to Terry Kath from Chicago, who died the exact same way, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The idea of these musicians dying before you would hope they would of gun violence is its own, sad list of people. But the other thing that I found that I always loved as a genre, but didn't realize it was a genre, was I think we refer to them as teenage death songs or teenage tragedy songs. And we started going down Wikipedia, because they have everything, has a list of what they considered teenage. And the nickname for them that DJs came up with were either death discs or splatter platters, which is the greatest nickname for anything.
Splatter platter to me feels like it should be part of, like, I don't know, like the Ghoul, like some sort of like
it should
Saturday
be Dr. Demento's
afternoon.
Halloween.
Exactly.
Yeah. And they always include things like Last Kiss,
of course,
which the Pearl Jam covered.
Yes.
Leader of the Pack, Dead Man's Curve.
I love Leader of the Pack, Dead Man's Curve.
Sounds about right. Is To Know Him to Love Is to Love Him. Is that a death disc? I can't remember now. I feel like I associate it with that because it is what is written on Phil Spector's dad's headstone, which is where he got the idea.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know that it is.
I don't think so.
Well, and everybody says like Johnny Angel, but Johnny Angel is not a death song. Johnny Angel is very much alive.
Well, Teen Angel.
No, but people say Johnny Angel too, Teen Angel too, but Johnny Angel, you're an angel to me.
So here's what I love
again, that song.
Yes, and I was so thrilled, and we both were, when we discovered that Ballad of Billy Joe is considered a teen death song. Because, something was thrown off the Tallahatchie Bridge by Billy Joe McAllister.
Right.
We don't know what it is.
We don't know what it is.
But what I love about the Wikipedia entry for this, and I don't want to just read off of Wikipedia like I normally do, but they have a breakdown of the song title, the original artist, year, songwriters, etc. And then they have a synopsis, which is my favorite thing ever. So the first one they list is a song by The Cheers from 1955 called Black Denim Trousers and Motorcycle Boots. Synopsis: protagonist collides with speeding train, presumed dead but never found. Running Bear by Johnny Preston, written by the Big Bopper. Synopsis: the couple drowns. Period.
Of course. All you need to know.
Yeah, they're so amazing. The water was red. Narrator meets girl on the beach. Then she dies in a shark attack.
Well, of course.
Narrator picks up a knife and sets off to kill the shark in retribution. These are like never mind like a. This
is
Brian
full
Wilson
drama.
Brian Wilson talks about teenage symphonies to God. This is that and beyond.
Yes.
But let's see here. A few others that I love. Where was it? So there's some, at a party, another man dances with protagonist's girlfriend. When challenged, she stabs protagonist to death.
Of course. It's a lot of stabbing.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely. Here's the one that I have not heard, but I need to dig up and buy every single copy I can find. Song called "Oh Susie, Forgive Me."
Oh, it's always a Susie.
I know, 1962, performed by Kenny Karen,
Mm.
written by the team of Barry Mann and Cynthia Weil. So
Oh, I mean, that's
talented
a yes.
writers. Synopsis: reckless boyfriend crashes car, leaving girlfriend paraplegic.
Yeah,
Gets better. He robs a store to fund her surgery,
of
gets shot
course.
by cops, and lies dying at her feet as he realizes she can walk after all.
Oh, it's like Romeo and Juliet.
That's like the Hemingway story, or the Hemingway quote, the saddest and shortest.
Yes,
That's, I feel like this does that one better.
it does. That's horrible.
Yeah, never mind car crash or something. This
No,
is, it's amazing.
it
And
is.
it's one of the things that also is interesting, because if you listen to one of our other shows, Why, every year we have a Christmas celebration.
Indeed.
And this past year we went and we played a bunch of old Christmas records that you are not hearing at Starbucks during the holiday
No.
season. And one of them, I cannot remember the title, but it is a song written from the perspective of Lisa Marie to her father, Elvis, saying, I know you're up in heaven. I know you can't come back for Christmas. I still really miss you. And it seems like
Yes.
just another one of these sad songs. And then I did a little digging.
Yes.
This song came out in 1977.
Mm.
Elvis died August 18th, I believe,
Yeah.
1977. So 4 months after,
Yeah.
somebody is saying, well, you have to have time to cut the record. Somebody is saying we need to write a song about Elvis being dead and
Y-
really play
Yeah.
on the child missing their
It's
dad.
not great. Wasn't the whole point
Fascinating.
of this after show to not bring everybody down? But you always bring everybody down.
Do you know what the gist of this show is?
I
The
know,
show
but
is
that was the
nothing
whole
but bringing people
point.
down.
I know it is, and it's true. I'm just,
So
I don't
I
know. I
just,
mean, I don't know why like dead teenagers, it's sad, but not as sad as like little Lisa Marie Daddy's dead.
I think it's dead
Maybe
teenagers in the
because now
50s
Lisa Marie
feels
is
like,
also dead.
yeah,
I
I
don't
think
know.
that's
It's
an
just a
added,
lot of
but like, Rebel Without a Cause type dead teenagers is a whole
yes,
different level of actual,
correct.
real, living, breathing people passing away,
Yes.
which is what
But
really this show is all about.
it is well, right. But still, like there are some things that are though sad. Like if we I guess we should move to Ray because
Yes.
he's the saddest of the three, and we'll save Mary because she at least has a little fun to her.
Is she?
Kind of.
So it's interesting
It's
because,
I don't know. Well, nothing's as devastating as what Ray says.
right. Well, true.
And did he
Um,
know? I think he knew, and I think he was saying it to be gentlemanly. I think he would. I don't think he was in shock.
so right after saying, and I only went with that full sentence, was the last full sentence. After that, he mentioned a couple times in sort of just mumbling out words about his wife, who I believe was named Mary, and rings. And so something about, but so it just gets sadder when you get into when he was delirious, how his brain was transmitting all this stuff. And when you look at the list of athletes killed while participating in their sport, if you leave aside, if you take kind of the big three or big four American sports, basketball, football, baseball, and hockey,
Mhm.
because I'm including Canada and North America,
Yes.
there's very, very few people who died doing the sport. Um,
Right.
and in there are NFL players who have unfortunately died during preseason practice because of the heat.
Right.
You have people like Reggie Lewis, the Celtics player, who had a heart attack after an off-season practice. Of course, there are race car drivers killed in the pursuit of their
Yes.
sport. There are boxers, of course, killed in the ring. Um, and even more recently, you have, last year, was Damar Hamlin,
Yeah, I think that was
who,
last year.
I mean, technically did die on the field
Yeah. Came
and
back.
just because of the proper response and all of that, was able to still be among us
Yeah.
and playing again, which is
Right. Which is
insane.
crazy.
It's insane.
Crazy. I, I don't know.
And it's fascinating, the takeaway from that era of baseball is insane overall.
It is insane.
The fact that the first big change they make after Chapman's death is to say we need to replace the ball when it gets
Right.
damaged. What about helmets? We'll
Yeah.
get to it.
We'll just wait a few decades for
Just
that.
give it a bit.
It's fine. It's totally fine.
Yeah, it's shocking. So there was a story in 1923 of a jockey died during a horse race that he actually won. That the owner went over to congratulate him on winning and found him slumped over in the saddle,
Oh
dead.
dear, that's terrible.
There was a NHL player. I said Oakland Seals. I might have been AHL. In 1968, who died in a game after being checked to the boards, hitting his head on the ice. He was the only NHL player, I believe, to die. And then Chuck Hughes is the only NFL player to die and I guess not come back.
Right.
In 71. He was I guess he had a heart attack and collapsed on his way back to the huddle. He was a Lions player, as you probably know.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Number 85 retired. I'm sure you know
I'm
that
sure.
well.
Of course. Of course. No, but that one, it's just.
But Ray Chapman is something above and beyond.
It is. And
I think
it's
the
just
age.
Yes.
It is the fact that he was clearly sort of in the high point of his career, and he was trying to leave at like
Right.
on that apex.
Well, and the impact, no pun intended, that it had on everybody else there. Like it was one of those truly like fluke, accidental, just things, and how that dominoes to everyone else.
Yeah. And I think the fact too that even, to this day, and you can find photos online of his headstone that is covered in bats and balls and gloves, and people still know, like, you need to sort of honor this guy because of the tragedies surrounding
For sure.
his death. And there's something, I mean, obviously so American about baseball, but just of all the sports to be playing, I think it's because it's probably something that everyone has played.
Well, yeah, ish. But yes.
Okay. Well, most of us probably rode our bicycles to go play baseball with someone. So obviously,
right. So that's why, right.
You missed chapter 1, you're not going to get to chapter 2.
No. But correct. It does. It feels like something that is, though it's not, feels weirdly wholesome and.
Yeah, all American.
Right.
And it's an afternoon game.
Right.
And just there's so much about it that just has these twinges of like, this is. Everyone knows late afternoon baseball games. Everyone's fallen asleep watching the game on TV at that hour.
You got to be I'm a big, you must be at the game person.
Yes, but falling asleep watching baseball is one of the greatest feelings in the world.
I will take your word for it.
I would put it up there with good back rub.
Wow, that's good. All right.
I don't
know. Maybe I'll have to start watching baseball. I don't know. I just, I watch it for all the wrong reasons, but
yes, exactly.
But Ray was, it's a heartfelt one. If you haven't heard it yet, we actually didn't spoil that one. I mean, we obviously should be able to spoil the last words, but we won't on this one. So listen if you haven't, or go back and keep crying if you have.
Right.
And then our third one, just to mix it up, is the lovely Mary Blandy, which I don't know. I guess we're of differing opinions a little bit on her. Like, her story is also very tragic in a very different way.
Yes.
But I do sort of feel, as an observer, not for her, nothing was funny about it, but as a viewer, listener, what have you, it did make me chuckle a little bit what she chose to say.
It is that Mel Brooks
Right?
quote, tragedy is comedy, or
Yes.
comedy is tragedy plus
Comedy,
time.
correct.
The fact that we have 200 years to let this sink in and really,
Precisely. And like you're worried about that now? Maybe you
right.
should have thought of that a few years ago.
I mean, in some ways, it reminds me of the Stephen King quote to Stanley Kubrick, and it's a long way around. But
Yes.
supposedly, or no, Kubrick to Stephen King, who was like up one morning in their house in Maine, shaving, and his wife comes in and says, Stanley Kubrick's on the phone for you. And he picks up the line, and Kubrick says, "Do you believe in ghosts?" And Stephen King says, "Yes." And he says, "So really, The Shining is an optimistic story because it suggests that there's an existence of an afterlife," and then hangs up.
Okay.
And I think in this, there's a little bit of that, because if you're concerned about decency,
Right.
doesn't that mean you will be in a place where you can be embarrassed by such things?
That's true.
My
Yes.
favorite little fun fact that I could not figure out how to put into the story was the way they tested for arsenic in the 1700s.
Okay.
They would heat it and smell it.
This doesn't seem like a good idea.
Nope, that's how they tested.
Interesting. That's not great.
And you know how they determined something if it was cocaine?
They tried it. They
Yeah, they went
it.
dancing. Yeah, and so
Yeah.
saw how long they could go.
I mean,
yeah.
that seems like a better option.
Certainly a better time. Yeah.
Right.
I just, again, when you put if Ray Chapman, the whole thing is like, and so we waited to do helmets, and here it's like, so you just tried it to see if it was arsenic.
Right. Well, I mean, I was afraid you were going to say they fed it to the dog, so I guess I feel better.
Yeah. But the other thing too, I feel like, and it's mentioned briefly, is the fact that her betrothed throughout all of this,
yes,
heads off to France and just isn't around for the day of reckoning.
Just gets to coast away with all of his multiple lives.
But the thing I'm confused about is because there's the whole thing of a lot of times a friend of mine did a documentary about a beauty pageant in a women's prison in, I want to say, Mexico, somewhere in South America.
Okay.
And it was a very interesting movie. And one of the big takeaways for me was the fact that every single woman they interviewed who was participating in this pageant was not guilty of the crime they committed.
Okay.
Not because they say, "I didn't do it," but it was, "A man made me do it." And there was always this, "I shot this guy in the back 10 times because he was,"
it's like Cell Block Tango, right?
Yeah. And I feel like Mary Blandy's testimony at the time was, it was given to me by another for an immoral purpose or something, like completely, like, I mean, yes, I did it, but there's a guy.
Well, and I mean, did she know what she was doing?
She was educated. I mean, love potions and this sort of nonsense.
I know, but
and they didn't have the Hallmark Channel, so she wasn't like thinking this guy was a prince who showed up and magically is going to make it better.
But she carried on with him for many, many years.
Yeah, and
yet is very concerned about not letting anyone see up her skirt.
Well, there's that.
But right, so you can be, some of the most educated people I know are some of the ditziest, diggy people I know.
Let's name them.
No, they know who they are. But
Sandy,
truly, like, did she
treat this like romper room? I see Sandy and
you're hilarious.
And John and yes, brilliant in one way, completely stupid in another.
Right? Or did she think she could just play? Was she brilliant and thought she could just play the, I didn't know. I thought it was just going to make my dad more loving.
I don't know, but thank you for not saying daddy in that voice.
No, I would never say that.
Okay, please. Okay, that's great. I don't know. is she more conniving because she immediately turned and blamed this dude? And it
But
was like her, if I can get,
I mean, regardless, I think this dude is he
oh,
needs to
he's bad
be
news. Right.
right. Like he is not a good person. He deserved everything he
Right.
didn't get. So
And then some.
and then some. But I don't know, and we'll never know. But I find it fascinating. I find her fascinating, and I find it fascinating that she has her own walk in Henley, which is one of my favorite parts of England.
I want a picture
Like,
next time you go.
well, that could happen.
You and your mom, arm in arm on Miss Blandy's walk.
Yeah, or maybe we'll be racing in the regatta.
That's true.
Um, but why did she get a walk? Like, why did they give Miss Blandy a walk?
I think I can never presume to explain the English to anyone.
I know. Well,
Not that I would not like to try,
yes,
but I mean, there is a tragic element to it if you look at the story as a woman, sort of like we say in the story, sort of destroyed by the machinations of men and
right.
being in this subservient role and not really standing up for herself in any way, shape, or form.
Until she did,
Well, yeah,
knowingly or unknowingly.
right. If you look at it that way, someone completely kind of controlled by I was going to say
But,
Pinocchio, but the puppet master of all of
right.
this, overlooking the fact that she was most definitely had to be willing to be the puppet.
True.
You need to have a puppet to be a puppet master.
Indeed. Yes.
I
Yeah, it's
don't
just
know.
interesting. It's just interesting that they deemed her cautionary tale the one,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Very, very true.
Mm-hmm. I'm not arguing against it. I just find it interesting, like where that conversation of, oh, we should remember her and have
Give
this
her the
be her
benefit of the
walk.
doubt.
Give her
Yeah.
the
I don't know. And these three put together, I feel like somehow is a nice package deal of,
because they're all so different.
and I think you get a sense a little bit of what we're trying to do with the show in general.
Yes.
And it's a good chance or a good time to note that for the next 12 weeks, every Wednesday, there will be another new exciting last
Yes.
word in your feed.
Mm-hmm. Just
If
one
you
though, one a week.
just one. So if you this past week listen to just one and your player like mine immediately went to play something else, I don't think it was because it was tired of hearing it, but it was just like,
Yes.
so there are
just
two
getting
others.
used to it.
Yeah. So if you only heard one, there's more to this week.
Clearly, because you just listened to us ramble on for all this time about three.
This is true.
Mm-hmm.
And these sort of after shows, I don't think will always be in the feed. It'll mostly be a YouTube thing.
We'll see.
YouTube.com/@famous last words pod.
Slash
Sabrina will like
famous
that.
world word
Slash
pods.
@famous last word pod.
Oh, it's at?
Yes. This
like
is
it's typed out as at?
no the @ symbol.
Well, yes. But you
if hitting shift and number 2 is typed out.
No, never mind. That is in the actual URL instead of just the slash.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. All right.
And if for some reason I'm doing this all wrong and YouTube, their incredibly well-written coding has lied to me,
Never know.
just search famous last words pod. Our graphic right now is in all black circle with FLW in very fancy.
Yes, but we'll be changing it soon.
We will be.
More
but you can watch
with our brand.
Yes, such as there is. But
Yes.
there is there's this on YouTube. There is the audio for the shows on YouTube.
Yes.
We also have Instagram
Mm-hmm.
and Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And it probably at some point we should pause while we're talking to get a really good still that we can then do a scream cap of
us.
Yeah, maybe one of you screaming and I've got my head in my hands looking sad.
That's well, that you can probably capture that pretty easily.
Yeah, or one where it looks like you're screaming like Mussolini and I'm just cowering in terror.
That would work.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've never captured a good screenshot of us.
We have never. No.
So I
Even
feel
that
like,
one where I was dressed like Helga, she woman of the SS. It just
I
didn't.
mean, it was cool
didn't
though.
work.
It just didn't work.
Didn't work. Yeah.
No, we
Because it's an
tried.
oral medium. It's not a visual
It
medium.
is, it's true. We'll get it at some point.
Yes. So I guess thank you all for
Yes, and
listening
let
to
us,
this nonsense.
correct. Thank you for listening
Yes.
to the nonsense. Share with us if you know stories of people's famous last words that you'd like to share, or if you're curious about someone's and want us to do the dive on figuring out if there's anything there, let us know.
Or also, if you just have any good last words that you've heard of friends and family, because I
Right.
think there's some that
I agree.
just that sentence is enough to reduce you to a puddle of tears without knowing the story
Or laughter.
or laughter. This is true.
A puddle of
that-
emotion, whatever it might be.
Thank you. Yes, this show is not hopefully the first 10 minutes of Up just every single week.
Well, right. We're not going to let that happen.
No.
We are all adorable little scouts, puppies, and balloons.
Yes. Yes. And we got to talk about who we're going to run next week.
I know.
I've got an idea.
Okay.
You could maybe say that I have this premonition of what we should run, but we'll see.
All right.
So I guess all that's left to do is thank everyone for listening.
I think we did that, but we'll thank them again
we?
because we can't
Okay.
thank you enough.
Yes. And follow us on Facebook,
Instagram,
YouTube. We're not on Twitter. That's about it.
That's it.
We're going to be doing reels and shorts soon. I don't want to say once Sabrina teaches us how to do it because that makes it sound old. But shortly after Sabrina teaches us how to do it, we will be doing those.
Or we might do some before, but they might not. They might be better after.
And then have Sabrina email us and say, "Hey, you idiots! This is the right way to do this."
You did a terrible job. Yeah.
That sounds about right.
So that'll be fun. So if you're
great.
Depressed from the show, that'll liven it up.
Yeah, listen to us blather about something stupid.
Yeah, it's perfect.
No, this show exists if nothing else to make listeners feel better about themselves.
Exactly.
All right, cool.
I think that's a wrap.
All right. Lovely.
Woohoo.
Here we go. I'm just waiting when we hit stop now.
You have to hit stop because you still do that. Like, you
I
can't
know.
give me the entire cues. Like you let me drive, but you're like the driver's ed instructor.
Oh, I
You've
gotta
got
have
the
that
brake.
brake pedal next to me.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, you've got to be kidding me.
Of course.
If I'm gonna just
1000%.
hop into your Sentra without any sort of
Right.
way to stop this thing from careening off a cliff.
Right.